Hi, this should be live. I'm gonna double check and make sure that you guys can see me. Hi, I'm gonna double check and make sure that you guys can see me. Cool. Hi, I'm gonna double check and make sure that you guys can see. There we go. So welcome to this live broadcast from the Hot Docs HQ. It's please shoot me an email or say something in the chat if the feed is off or you have any questions. This is new, never done this before. So I hope it works out and that everyone can learn about Sunny Side of the Docks and the Canadian delegation that's happening at the festival that we'll be going to a little bit soon. So I'm just checking to see. Okay, no complaints on the internet just yet. So I think I'll just start the chat so you guys can see. Hi guys. Ask questions. So just put in a chat on the side of the live stream. If you have questions for me, if you're logged in to watching this live stream from Hot Docs about Sunny Side of the Docks, that's exactly where you can ask me questions. It's just to the side of the video. So I want to welcome you to this live stream about pre-market live info session for Sunny Side of the Docks. Thanks, Eve. I just saw your note. Love that this is working. My name's Elizabeth Radshaw. I'm the Director of Industry Programs at Hot Docs. I'm very happy to be hosting this session for those who couldn't join us the other day. We're doing this again. There was such a great demand to find out more information about the market and everything that's happening. So today we're going to cover a whole series of questions and issues and information about Sunny Side of the Docks and the Canadian delegation that's happening. I love seeing all these notes pop up from you guys that you can hear me and see me as well. Isn't technology great? Thanks so much. So today, here are the things that we'll be covering. We'll just be explaining everything that's happening at Sunny Side of the Docks this year in La Rochelle. So give you a little bit of Sunny Side in a nutshell. We'll talk about the spotlight on Canada and all the activities and the visibility that's happening with our delegation that's here. And we'll talk about how to get the most out of Sunny Side, all the tips and tricks that you need from like hardcore logistics to details and other things that are going to make the market really valuable for you. We'll do a brief overview of international documentary broadcasters and distributors info and tips. And we'll talk a little bit more about preparing your project for international and European marketplace insights. So you'll see all of our dear friends at Telefilm have actually joined the chat as well. And if you have specific questions for them, you can just feed it into the chat and their responses will be there for everyone. Cool. It's really funny being in my office just talking to my computer, but I'm actually talking to all of you. Anyway, so a brief background about Sunny Side of the Docks and why we're doing this info session. Hot Docs is part of the delegation and helping to host all of you that'll be attending this year. I've been going to Sunny Side for maybe about 9 or 10 years, at least as long as it's been in La Rochelle, and 1 year prior to when it was in Marseille. It's a pretty fantastic market. It's very relaxed. The weather is supposed to be stunning, and it certainly has a different feel than the busyness of IDFA or even many of the other MIP markets that happen in France. So it's been around for 26 years. It is really a market intended to support producers. And this year in 2015, they are hoping to have 260 decision makers and about 2,000 industry professionals in attendance from 60 countries. So what's amazing about Sunny Side is now that it's been placed in La Rochelle for about the past like 8 or 9 years, it is centered in this place called the Espace, which is right by these 2 very picturesque ports. That area has stands similar to what you'd see at MIP or MIP TV, but it's a much more relaxed atmosphere. The Canadian delegation will have a large stand and great visibility. And that's a place where you guys can book meetings and, you know, tell other producers, other folks that you're hoping to connect with to, you know, meet there. It's a good rendezvous point. But that being said about that space, I just have a question. What's the time zone for La Rochelle? It's just France, French time zone. So it should be GMT +1. So I'm going to interrupt myself with all these cool questions. They're really distracting as they pop up on the side. Anyway, back to what's happening at Sunnyside. There's a whole series of programs that happen at this event. So there's pitch sessions. There are panels and workshops. There's matchmaking that's involved with the Canadian delegation. There's a series of social events, and then there's the Grand Écran, which are screenings. So we'll talk them through in order. Every day of the market, there's different panels and workshops that happen. All the information for these sessions are on the website. It's just been released. You'll also get a guide in the delegate's bag. And I can actually show you a copy of what we have right here. I have many of last year's guide and many past years. So when you get these, we'll have all the information that you need around all the sessions that are happening and all the pitches. In between the panels and sessions are pitches. They're themed daily. So each day there's a different theme of pitches: history, science and knowledge, natural history and wildlife, global issues, arts and culture, and then the interactive and transmedia docs. They also have a mixed doc section where they put investigative docs. For all activities that are happening around interactive and transmedia, they're going to be marked with the Sunny Labs sort of logo. So if this is an area in a space that you're really interested in accessing, I would look for the Sunny Labs tags, and they'll be throughout the website and throughout all of the materials. Many different social events happen throughout the week of the festival within it's called the Espace. There's certainly receptions that happen at different stands, and essentially throughout the day, if you can think about how you would sort of plan your days. In the morning, there's often coffee and croissant and workshops. There's 2 cafes where you can, you know, grab a little bite and a coffee and take meetings. Throughout the day, typically people take meetings and bop in and out of panels and pitches. Receptions usually start at around 3, 4 o'clock and go in through to about 5 or 6. At around 6:37, or even I would say 6, the espace starts to kind of clear out, where there's 5 à 7 and 7 à 9, where folks are going out to different social events that happen throughout La Rochelle, and then there's dinners. So it's a fairly typical market schedule, but what's nice, it all happens in one place. The Grand Écran are a series of documentary screenings that happen, that are public-facing screenings, and Hot Docs and VDM have been fortunate enough to be support the programming partnership of many of those films that be coming through. So if there's an evening that you're tired of socializing and you want to catch a film, you can look into the schedule and check out all of those. All of you who are registered should have access to the online community for Sunnyside of the Docks. So once you log in there should be the entire schedule of the event, all of the delegate contact and details, and you'll also be able there to register I think we're back. Let's see. Are we back? Okay, I didn't break the internet, but it should be working now. I think we're back. Oh, this is really hilarious. Anyway, on back to Sunny Side of the Docks. So excellent. You can also, everyone's back. We're all back. So registering your project is a really critical thing. When you go online and you put in your delegate information, you put in your password, you'll be able to register your projects. Why is that important? First of all, in the Who's Who guide, which you'll be getting, which has all the delegates and buyers' contact information, under your project, under your name and your contact information will be the projects that you're associated with that will be registered. Also, they'll be able to be viewed on your community contact point. What's also important about that is that Telefilm and the other organizers of the delegation have put together some great activities, and they'll be using that registration detail for your projects to pull information for you guys. So please don't forget to do that. You can update it in the coming weeks leading up into the market, but don't forget to do it. Otherwise, it won't be printed in the book, and it won't be accessible to Telefilm and the other partners who are helping to support some great activities that we're doing for you guys. So that's just a very kind of blanket overview of the market. We'll get into some more details about Sunny Side of the Docks later. But I want to talk about the Spotlight on Canada and the different activities and visibility that will be happening throughout the week. So Canada is the country of honor, and we are delighted to say that Monique Simard, who is our SODEC president, is also the president of honor at Sunny Side of the Docks for 2016. So certainly we'll be raising a glass with her at the different activities that are happening throughout the week. The first important one is the panel that's happening on Monday, June 20th at 11 a.m. at the Agora, which is in the Espace Écran. It's how to co-produce with Canada. So it'll be a great session about international co-production with Canada. Many of you feel like, I know all this information. I'm Canadian. I know how to co-produce with me. But what will be interesting is the folks who will be attending that session are interested in co-producing with Canada. So it doesn't hurt to mark it in your schedule, to stop by and sort of work the room before and after the session to see what different partners in the international community are there interested in co-producing with Canada. So it's a nice one-stop shop for some companies who are looking to work with Canadians. On Monday, June 20th, later in that evening, at 17:30 at the restaurant in the Espace, there will be a matchmaking session. So Telefilm will be sending out invitations to Canadian producers so they can register for this activity. If they haven't already, it'll be going out within the next week or so. So this will be direct matchmaking with other international producers that are attending the event. So with your information that is that you've registered with, Telefilm will be sending out these invitations. There's a wonderful group who are going to be coming in and doing that matchmaking. And then that evening activity will be a very sort of what I would call active networking. It's not passive networking. They'll be putting you into meetings, and you'll be able to connect directly with potential co-production partners. So more details are coming from Telefilm on that front. On Tuesday at 19:30 in the Musée Maritime, which is again right next to the Espace. It's all literally in one spot, which is very nice. This is Tuesday the 21st. There's going to be a networking reception in honor of the country of honor, which is Canada. Telefilm will be sending out that invitation as well. Do not miss this event. We are the honored country. It's very important that we're there representing and meeting with all the different participants and delegates that are there at Sunny Side of the Docks. As I mentioned before, the Espace Écran, there'll be screenings that Hot Docs and Ridiem have been co-programming with in partnership with Sunny Side of the Docks. So again, if you feel like you need to take a night off and watch a film, there's certainly a whole set of screenings that are coming up. So Hot Docs is doing different market prep and to kind of get you ready for this event. And the first thing is this amazing YouTube live chat. The second thing we'll be doing is project feedback and kind of pre-matchmaking, pre-market support. So more information will come through Telefilm. It'll be all sort of centralized. But if you have your project and you feel like, gosh, I'd really love a second set of eyes on it before I go to the market, or I think I've got something good here, but I don't really know exactly who I should be meeting, you know, in terms of where my project is a fit. We are offering just a quick service that you'll be able to, with your program projects that have been registered, if you choose to participate, Hot Docs, myself, and Heidi Tao Yang, who will be in attendance at the market as well, will offer some feedback, some insights. You send us a list of different buyers that you think would be good for you. We can help to identify if you're hitting the right target. But the idea is that you don't go in cold. You go in with a little bit of pre-market feedback about your projects. And why is this important? Well, luckily at Hot Docs, we've had the last 5 months in preparation for our own festival to be reading international submissions to our film funds, as well as to the Dealmaker and to the forum, and all the different activities that are happening. So we have an incredible global perspective of the projects that are out there in the world. So we can offer some insights to say, hey, you know what? I know you're onto this project about the disappearance of the bees, but there's 4 other films that are in production about it as well, et cetera, et cetera. So it's that kind of insight that we can offer, or just, you know, different ways of illustrating how these projects would best fit certain markets and maybe not others. So that's something that we're happy to support, and the details of how that activity will happen will be coming to you through email very soon. In terms of visibility for producers and for everyone in the delegation, Telefilm will be creating a printed brochure which will have images of the Canadian projects, which will be also displayed throughout the screens of the pavilion. And also, I believe that all the Canadian producers that are registered for Sunnyside have been contacted by Telefilm about this. So you should have that information in. If you have more questions about it, they're on the chat. I just see that next week, on May 25th, we'll be getting much more communications about all the events and key dates on your agenda. So thank you for that. And there's some core deadlines that are being posted up right here. So here are just some couple tips that we found about Sunny Side of the Docks that is very important to be aware of. So of course, there's all the activities that happen with the matchmaking that Telefilm and the delegation will be organizing, as well as sessions that you can pop in and out of, panels, and of course the pitches. But people kind of ask, like, well, what kind of market is this? Is this the type of market where I can just sort of roll in and drop in on people and make meetings, or, you know, what should we do? My advice is this. Right now online, you'll see the entire Who's Who's guide with contact information. Book your meetings now. This is a market that sort of feels a little bit like MIP, in that people take half-hour meetings, they book their entire days, they start early, and then they kind of break at around 5 when the cocktails start, and then go on and have, you know, nice social dinners with friends or working dinners, etc. And there's certainly a couple of evening receptions, but people are at the Espace at 9:30 the next morning, and they're doing half-hour meetings throughout. Now, it'll be that many of these half-hour meetings are sat outside in the sun along the port in these beautiful chaise lounges, yes, but they're still booked every half hour. So my best advice is to do your homework now and be able to pick the projects and the delegates that you'd like, and make sure that you can access them. I see some chat about contact information on the delegates list online not being up. We were in touch with Sunnyside just the other day, and they had just gotten up the registered list, and ideally the contact information should be up there. What we will do, because a lot of these folks, I would say, are the usual suspects. They've been going again and again and again. So if you have last year's lists, you can certainly use those. Everyone who's on this chat and who participated yesterday will be sending a PDF of our guide to decision makers that has contact information in as well. You can likely glean some of the email addresses for folks. So if you have, Jutta Krug's address from WDR and you want to reach out to her colleague, you can figure out sort of from the email configuration what that address will be. So it may take a little bit of Sherlock sleuthing to figure those email addresses out, but with that information, you should be able to cobble it together. I do believe that all the contact details should be up onto the community within the next week or so. So keep your eyes peeled on that. On to sort of more details about the day-to-day and important kind of how to get the most out of Sunnyside elements. So again, booking your meetings ahead, accessing the data, the delegate list, and getting those details and doing your research about who you want to meet so that the meetings that you're making are most beneficial. Checking out all the different events and programs. There is a newcomers presentation on the first day of the market for those first timers to Sunnyside. That's organized by Sunnyside of the Docks. So if you're there on that day, it'd be worth it to get out there and check it out. They may have even more tips and tricks than I do. But here's some important logistics that I'm going to lay out getting to Sunnyside. So I typically fly to Paris and then take the train. And you'll see on the Sunnyside of the Docks website and as well on the Eurorail websites that there's been several train constructions, closures, and delays. So double check, triple check, quadruple check that your train is going direct to La Rochelle, or if you have to switch and grab a bus. Also, there's certainly, this is like the favorite time of year where the French Rail likes to strike, so be prepared for that. For those of you who have not bought your flights and want to avoid the train fiasco altogether, you can fly to London and then take Ryanair from Stansted Airport directly to La Rochelle. So something to consider if you haven't figured out your travel altogether. So those are just key things to be aware of because you don't want to come delayed because of train issues or whatnot. Getting around La Rochelle is fairly easy. You can probably access everything on foot. It is a little confusing layout. It's an old port town and with lots of historic charm with these two beautiful ports. There's maps available. I would study a little map before you go because you can get turned around kind of easily thinking that you're at one port and you're actually at the other, and you're actually a 25-minute walk away from the Espace rather than a 5-minute walk. But what you should know is that there's little navettes that help you to bypass walking around the two ports by the front part. And those are free with your badge, but if you don't have your badge yet, they're only a couple of euros. At the Espace, you can also rent a bike. And as long as you give an ID, you can take the bike for the night or for the day and make sure to come drop it back off. So those things are all available for you to get around. Great to know that there's also flights from Paris to Nantes, but then you have to get from Nantes to La Rochelle. So now that you guys are all connected on the chat, and you will be later connected through email of all the delegates that are attending, you can maybe coordinate how to ride share together into La Rochelle. There's really no need for taxi when you're there, but for some of the events or some restaurants that are a little bit further afield, you can certainly access those, and there's taxi numbers that are available on the Sunnyside of the Dock website or ones that you can pick up when you get there. If you do want to do a little bit of tourism, I will make my one plug for Ile de Ré, which is a short drive, or you can even bicycle out there. If you have an extra day at the end of the market and you want to visit a really stunning place, you can take a bike ride out to Ile de Ré, spend the afternoon, have a wonderful dinner, and cycle back, or take a taxi back if you wish. And it's a lovely place to explore. Okay, on to some more information. And this is a great point. If people have any questions, I'll remind you to go back to the chat. I see some interesting things that also from Montreal, you can fly directly to Bordeaux with transit. Oh, that sounds very convenient. So on to the documentary broadcaster and buyer overview, and we'll talk a little bit about distributors. So who is going to this event? Who are all the delegates that are in attendance? Certainly there is a great representation from Canada because of the spotlight this year. There are a handful of American producers who attend and a handful of American buyers who attend, but not nearly as many as you'd see at Hot Docs. The tourist place is called Ile de Ré, and I will dive into, I love it, answers that are happening on the chat. It's so cool. In terms of the buyers that are in attendance, as I mentioned, for potential co-production partners from the US and buyers from the US, there's a handful, but this is really a European market. Because it's in France, it's sort of the, I call it the end of the school year trip for the French broadcasters and French buyers. They try not to miss it. And if you look into the guide in terms of what broadcasters are in attendance, and you'll see when I look at the France TV or the Arte list, they nearly are bringing about 20 to 30 people. It's like everyone in the department comes out to this event. So be sure when you're going through the lists of, which broadcaster you want to meet with and exactly which buyer you want to meet with, I'd advise not to email all of them because they're all not right for you, but go in and make sure that you know exactly who you want to meet with, because I'd say it's almost like a little bit of an office retreat for the French broadcasters who are in attendance. What's also amazing about Sunny Side of the Dock, and different than many other events such as Sheffield, etc., is that you have countries and broadcasters from much smaller countries in attendance, like Belgium, Luxembourg, regional Spanish channels like TVE, and all of German regional and ZDF and RT representation. So it's wonderful for that and trying to access some of those smaller markets. Of course, all the Scandinavians, etc., etc. In addition to this, which is nice, Yves Janot, the head of Sunnyside, has done an incredible job reaching out to the Asian and Latin American markets with Asian side of the docks and with Latin side of the docks until that sort of has been revisioned into a new phase. But certainly what is also wonderful to see in attendance are strong representation from the different Asian markets, broadcasters as well as filmmakers in attendance, and from Latin broadcasters as well. So in years past, there was an excellent representation from public broadcasters from Africa. So I'm always impressed to see who's able to make it out to this event. Will the delegates be categorized? Yes. When you look into the who's who, just so you know, within this book, you can see exactly if they're a broadcaster or if they're a producer. And when you go on to the online community, there's a search function so that you can just search buyers or decision makers, as they're called, or just search distributors, etc., etc. So there are a lot of distributors who attend Sunnyside of the Docks, an incredible amount from all across the globe, but certainly the majority that are in Europe, and quite a few North American distributors attend as well. These distributors are mostly distributing factual content as well as broadcast. I see your question about the project feedback. I'll get back to that in a second. These distributors are focused mostly on television rights and selling content and formats and series and some one-off documentaries. But I think it's an important market if you want to go shop around and looking for distributors. They are happy to take meetings, and if you have work that's nearly done or series work that's ready to be for international distribution, this is a great market to meet up with quite a few of them. Always my big advice when it comes to distributors and signing on with them is you may have a really great meeting at the market. You guys may click and have a nice glass of wine together, et cetera, and you feel like, oh, we're gonna have a great deal. I know they're gonna work really hard for me. But you may have neglected to ask some key questions. And I'm gonna take this opportunity to remind you of these key questions because they're so obvious, but we often forget. So first thing first, when you're sitting down with a distributor at the market and you say, oh, I really like this charming individual, we've had a great talk about all sorts of things, and they get my project and they get me, but here's what I advise you to do. Look at their catalog and study it. Open up their materials and see, okay, does my film fit in this space? Do I want to have my film or series amongst all the other work that's here? Do I recognize this work? Do I see that it's been distributed in other broadcasters? Is this the type of place that I'd like to, see that my work is represented? And if you feel when you look amongst the material like, yeah, this looks really good, I feel like I fit in this catalog and my piece fits in this catalog, well, that's a really good sign. The second thing that I'd ask you to do is ask for some references. It's something that we forget to do, especially with distributors, is say, hey, listen, I see that you have a couple projects here. Do you have some references that you could offer me? I'd love to speak to other filmmakers who are represented by you. So it's a fairly obvious thing to do, but it's something that we forget. And then call those references and see what it's like working with that distributor and get their feedback. Do they pay on time? You know, did they give reasonable projections? Have they been, quick to respond to emails, et cetera, et cetera. All the things that are important to you in the working relationship that you're building. It's also, again, if you are about to sign with a distributor and you think there's someone's great, you want to check some references and you need some help with contact info, you can always reach out to the Hot Docs team and say, hey, listen, I'm looking for a reference for this distributor. Could you perhaps help me out with something? We can certainly give you some direction on that. But it's easy to get swept up in the market and get excited about signing a distribution deal, but I encourage you to check references. So an obvious thing, but something that we often forget. I'm going to jump into that question about how to send Hot Docs projects to get our feedback before the market. So Telefilm will be sending out some instructions about how to do this so that they can be sort of centralized and we don't get 50 emails from every single delegate coming from the Canadian delegation. And pretty much you'll just drop your information into a form with all your contact info and the projects that you'll be pitching in the form, pitching at the Sunnyside, and then we'll be able to give you some quick feedback around market readiness, in terms of its international appeal or, folks that you're hoping to reach out to. Are you targeting the right ones? We're not going to tell you who to have meetings with. You're going to have to go do the research on your own, but we'll certainly tell you if you put a list, I'm hoping to meet with these 5 people. Am I, hitting the right target? We can give you some direction in that point. Good question about how many Canadians will be in the delegation. I think Telefilm can come back with an exact numbers, but I think we're about almost 30 of producer filmmakers in the delegation. And then of course, there's going to be the folks from Telefilm, from all the provincial agencies that are supporting all of you guys, from Manitoba, from Ontario, the OMDC, from SODEC in Quebec, and then of course, Hot Docs and Medium. So you guys will have a lot of support while you're there from all these different agencies and organizations. So I think we're gonna be a pretty good sized crew. The matchmaking that's happening that Telefilm just mentioned will be supported by Creative Loops and Sunnyside of the Docks, and that's all going to be coordinated at the beginning of June. So invitations for that will be going out fairly soon. So just keep an eye on your emails. Information is all coming through in the pipelines. It's amazing that it's only a month away. It feels like it's happening tomorrow. So once the agenda is online, it should be really soon. Your delegate information should be able to get you all the details that you need around the events that are happening at Sunnyside, the panels, the keynotes, the happy hours, and the pitching sessions. When it comes to other invitations that are happening around different parties and events, we'll do our best to keep you guys in the loop of different activities that are happening. There are a couple of private parties that happen, some large ones, et cetera, et cetera. That be the case, we'll do our best to make sure that you guys get the invites that you need, especially since we're the country of honor. So that's important stuff. I see a couple more questions that are coming through the chat, and this is a great opportunity if you have them to put them there. Should we bring paper copies of projects or better to stay digital? This is always an interesting question. And when we do our takeaways in the Hot Docs Buyer's Guide and we ask buyers directly what they like, some say they love a piece of paper because it helps them remember that they have a meeting with you, or a one sheet. Other folks refuse to take paper. They refuse to take even a postcard. They want it all to be sent to them digitally. I think it's just they want to check their luggage on. I would have a handful of your pitch documents, whether they be a one-pager or a postcard, but make sure that all of them have links to any footage with a password that people can watch at another time. So have a few, but I don't think you need to pack hundreds. You can certainly print and do things at Sunnyside, but probably best that you bring it with you. What I'm trying to go through it. It was very quick because usually when we did the other hangout, I could see everybody's faces at the bottom, and people were interrupting me and asking questions in the nicest way, similar to this chat feed. But I've covered most of the things that were on my list in terms of all of the tips and tricks and the activities that are happening around Sunnyside itself, around the spotlight on Canada and its activities, and then really how to get the best out of Sunnyside and the most out of it. And then the different buyers that are in attendance and distributor tips that are pretty important, and then sort of preparing your project for the international marketplace. My other important advice is, as much as you're going to be booking time with buyers ahead of time, so that you can take meetings with them, make sure that you just hold out a little bit of free time so that you can walk through the espace and visit all the different booths that are there. There's certainly different delegations similar to ours that'll be in attendance. The UK Independents, there'll be a small stand for American producers, the Canadians, but also there's the Catalan and Basque producers that will be there from Spain, Poland. Polish Docs always has a stand. And very interesting different regions that are coming out and being represented. So if you're looking to co-produce with a certain country and you haven't been match made, or you don't really know how to find someone, for example, if you're doing a documentary with a Polish angle and you need a Polish co-producer, that stand is available for you to just pop into, connect with people who are similar to like us or their equivalent of telefilm, and be able to make those connections directly. As for the stands for broadcasters, the Arte, ZDFs, and Channel 4, and all the different major big stands that are in there. Again, those are ones where there is usually a receptionist at the front of the stand, and she's not necessarily booking meetings, but she's coordinating the meetings that are coming in and out that have already been pre-booked. So my best advice, book them ahead of time, and now would be a great opportunity to do it a month out, and don't rely on trying to like roll in on the day and say, hey, does Mark Edwards at Arte have any free time for me today? It's just not likely going to be the case. And so I would do your best to try to fill them out ahead of, book those meetings ahead of time. In addition, a lot of distributors have stands as well, so it's a great opportunity to meet with them there. Booking those meetings on site may be a bit easier, but certainly ahead of time makes a lot more sense. So key other important things that are nice and good to know that are not necessarily tourism, but just more critical for planning your trip. The 21st of June is Fête de la Musique. It's a almost 24-hour music festival that happens throughout all of France and throughout certainly La Rochelle. There'll be live performances and buskers and different musicians throughout the entire, let me just see. Oh, there you go. Throughout the entire city. And this is a wonderful thing. It brings a great atmosphere to La Rochelle, but the crowds are pretty heavy throughout the afternoon and then well into the evening. So timing from walking from your Airbnb down into the espace, you may just want to give yourself more time that day. I'd also encourage you to pack earplugs because the music goes well into the night, certainly till 2 and 3 in the morning. So something to just be aware of. Also, it's just a couple days after that are Les Grandes Soldes, which are like the big sales that are happening throughout all of France as well. So again, La Rochelle is an amazing tourist destination for people from France and throughout Europe. So another wonderful thing, but it does mean that the streets are kind of packed. So, getting to and from or lunch and back to the espace, just make sure you kind of give yourself more time. There'll be more people than usual in La Rochelle for those days. I will also send the details to the one vegetarian restaurant in all of La Rochelle. There's tons of restaurants, and usually people leave the espace in the afternoon and walk out and have a lovely lunch in the sun, and they do their best. And that's a great opportunity to book meetings with people, with buyers or distributors or potential co-production partners. It's very easy to access. It's only a short walk out to both ports, or you can take the navette and reach the far side where there's tons of restaurants to choose from. But again, give yourself enough time to get back to the espace. so that you can, make your meetings on time. And I will send out that one vegetarian restaurant. If you love seafood, you'll be in heaven. If you are vegan, good luck. There's a couple of really great health food stores, if those are the things that you need to do, that are throughout La Rochelle, so you should be able to check that out. And there's a beautiful market right in the center of town, a little bit further set back by the Hotel de Ville, that has incredible produce. So if you're staying in an Airbnb and you just want to buy some things, that's what I advise. Of course, there's a Monoprix as well, which is like a department store or the grocery store. So tons and tons of options. You kind of can't go wrong. I've been following the chat with one eye, seeing that Telecom's been great to respond to the matchmaking sessions, and the different things that will be happening in the lead up. It will be Creative Loops and Sunnyside that will be helping to make those matchmaking selections. So in order to be eligible for this, you must register your projects online now, and that's going through the online community, logging in, and then sort of copying and pasting your projects into the website. Great question about reserving lunch reservations ahead of time. If there's a special restaurant that you know and love that you want to go back to, you certainly could. But frankly, there are so many restaurants. I mean, they're just literally right next to each other for winding like a snake, almost several kilometers. You'll just find another one. If you are very keen to go to a place that's quite close, and the restaurants that are the closest to it, it doesn't hurt to go onto their website and check and see if they take reservations. They certainly do for dinner. I'm not sure if they do for lunch, but it's a very relaxed atmosphere in La Rochelle. So as long as you book yourself a good 2 hours to have lunch, time to walk there, enjoy a good lunch, time to walk back, you're good to go. But if you're going to try to just do it in an hour, it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. Yeah, good points. Being vegan in France. Anyway, you'll find your way. There's lots of great things, and certainly a handful of other wonderful health food stores that have lots of different options. Anyway, so we're coming into around 11:45 here. I've been chatting to my computer. It feels really silly, but I'm happy that this information is getting across, and that we're able to kind of give you these insights about attending the market, and sort of take away any worries and concerns that you have about things like, reserving for lunch or vegetarian restaurants or how to get around and whatnot. Those are key and critical things, because once you're at ease about those elements, you can really focus on making your meetings, preparing your pitch, and coming into the market kind of ready to go. So I'm happy now to just, as people have questions, they can type them in the chat. We're available for really specific things. I'm just going to also look at the email here to see if any of the other questions are coming through that way. Nope, but it looks okay. Anything? Oh, what's the best way to book hotels? Thanks, Joanne. There are 2 key hotels that are very close to the Espace. All of the information is on the Sunny Side of the Docks website, and I'm pretty sure that they have a discount code because you're attending the market. The Ibis is a chain of hotels that are fairly, one step up from budget, but they're clean and they're comfortable. There's 3 of them in La Rochelle. There's one that's quite close to the Espace, and then 2 others that are a little bit further out. If you're looking at a map of La Rochelle and you're like, oh, where's this Espace? If you see the aquarium, it's right next door to the aquarium. And, I'm checking up these other questions. Anyway, the other hotels that are throughout the area can be smaller boutique hotels, and some ranging in different prices. If you're comfortable with Airbnb, that's actually how I've been staying in La Rochelle for the past few years. I think it's pretty great. There's tons of Airbnbs at pretty reasonable prices. What's nice about that is that if you want to cook your own breakfast, those things are available, and they're quite beautiful apartments. We spoke earlier about a brochure getting printed by Hot Docs or Telefilm. How do we get in there? That's being printed all by Telefilm, and they should be able to get you that information. They'll be sending out details about how to send it to them, but you must register your information through the Sunny Side of the Docks community, and Telephone will be organizing that printing. So for the fourth time asking, should we send our project by email to decision makers before the meeting? Well, this is a good question, but what I'm curious to know more what you mean by that. If you're going to book a meeting with someone, they should know what you're meeting about. I would advise you to make sure that you send a short synopsis, a log line, and a link to a short trailer. But what you should also do is in one sentence explain why you want to meet with them. So know who you're proposing the meeting with, know that your project fits their slot or their distribution outlet or all the different elements that that channel or that buyer is representing, because that would be what's most convincing, to them. This is a film on wildlife. You are the wildlife person at this channel. This looks like it fits based on the research that I've seen and the different projects that you've had very successfully done in the past, X, Y, and Z. So we'd love you to take a look at this. Here's the title. Here's 1 or 2 sentences, the log line, and here's a short link to maybe a minute or 2 or 3-minute teaser and your contact information. I'd also advise that you propose a time or give them an option 1 or 2 times. Are you free Monday at 10, Tuesday at 11:45, or Tuesday at 2:15? That way, at least their brains are not going, yes meeting, no meeting. Their brains are going, okay, yes meeting, what time are we choosing? And they may not be available for any of those, but the next obvious response is, not available for any of that, but how about Wednesday at 11? So that's my advice for booking those meetings. More questions. So see a couple of main things about hotels. Ibis hotel is, just typing it in here. Little fast on the Ibis hotel. The hotel that's very close to the Espace Éclat is the host hotel of the sunny side of the docks. So I'm not surprised that it's already sold out, the Mercure, but there's lots of different options. There's lots of different boutiques, but I would certainly say that Airbnb is a pretty good option. And that's what I'd advise. If you're really feeling adventurous, there's a couple of sailboats that you can Airbnb as well, but that's not for the faint of heart. I'm looking through about how do we know about the pitch schedule. That's all available online through the Sunny Side of the Dock portal and schedules, so we can book our meetings accordingly. So again, all of the schedule for the sessions and for the pitches are all available on the Sunny Side of the Docks website. So it's a good thing to print out and be able to block out to the times that you think that you want to attend different activities and then book your meetings around them. Going through a couple more of these questions here. And thank you to everyone at Telefilm who's answering these questions as well for me as I'm chatting. Have we covered it all? Is there anything else that you guys are curious about in attending Sunny Side of the Docks? Please feel free to let me know. We'll see if there's a couple more questions that come through. Price range to be expected for lodging. You can easily find an Airbnb for about 110 Canadian a night, which is what I would expect. There's some that are certainly a lot more. That's for an apartment all on your own, and there's certainly that are much less. I have to Google the name of the vegetarian restaurant. I'll send it to Telefilm to put it out in the next email, and then I'll be seeing all of you guys there because Heidi's a vegetarian, so no doubt we'll be there often. Yes, thank you, Thomas, the Hot Dogs Boat Party. So this is a fairly casual, totally unofficial, non-delegation thing about the boat trip. Is there are 2 boats that often we've had rented in the past. One is catamaran and one is a sailboat. The sailboat is out doing excursions throughout the Mediterranean, so that one's not available to us. We put in a request for the catamaran, and so this is how it works. You have to pay your own way. It's about 25 or 30 euros. I'm not exactly sure, but about that. Pay your own way in cash. We'll send out a time and a date, and it's first come, first serve. So if you show up late and the boat's already launched, too bad. If you show up late and we already have 27 people, you get to go another time. It's a 2-hour excursion, and we go out onto the water. In the price of the ride, you get a glass of wine and some, canapé. And it's a really lovely afternoon that we spend, just 2 hours. We'll likely do it Thursday afternoon. What I would say is that if you're not able to come at that time, that boat has daily sunset water promenade, like promenade that they do. So if you want to just go out and take maybe a buyer and go on a boat meeting date, you certainly can do this without us. We just organize one event that's pretty fun, and we try to make it as international as possible. So I know there's a lot of Canadians. I feel like maybe we should host 2, do it on Friday as well. I'll keep you posted. They haven't got back to me about the reservation, so that's the news about the wholly unofficial side boat party that we coordinate. Pay your own way. There was like 5 questions about that, so I hope I answered it. The Monoprix is right downtown by the Hotel de Ville. You can't miss it. There's also a mini Monoprix, which is a little bit further out. Yeah, good question. Great. I feel like these are some good questions. There's a little bit of a delay, so when I finish talking, 5 more questions pop up. So we'll carry this through for another few more minutes and try to answer the rest of your questions. That's great to know that there'll be, that there's some other hotels, a Pat Hotel, which has kitchens and apartments, I believe, which is pretty good. Just concerning printers and other things, at Sunny Side of the Docks, there is a business area, but you pay to print by the page. We've certainly had things printed in the equivalent of Office Max in La Rochelle. I cannot say that it was easy, just in terms of, popping over with a drive and printing out a ton of stuff. So if you're keen to print something, I just advise that you bring it from home. But again, no need to bring a ton of printed material. Have some as backups, but just do your follow-up on email and digital, because the balance of what we found is with meetings with buyers is that they want it digitally and only a handful want it on paper. So a couple of other questions about, you guys are all answering these things for telephone. Cool. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing you all at Sunny Side of the Docks and hanging out with all of you. It is a charming and beautiful and wonderful market. It's so fantastic that this year there's a spotlight on Canada. It's a long time in the coming. There's been wonderful representation of Canada at this market and wonderful partnerships that have happened over the years. So it's really nice to be the country of honor. Everyone kind of pays more attention to the delegation that's coming. So take advantage of it. And don't be afraid to mention to people that you're part of the Canadian delegation, of which there's a spotlight on. So it's a great honor and a wonderful thing to sort of, I would say, even open up a conversation with as you are doing your networking and events. So big merci to all of you. We're really excited to see you all there. Thanks so much. I'm really happy you could join me for this live session from my office at Hot Docs. And questions and information that you have going through, telephone will be, of course, sending out more information. We're really thrilled that we could do this and that it worked out so well. And whoever sent, oh my gosh, that's Shasha, who just sent that gorgeous little octopus emoji. So much fun. Okay, you guys are great. This has been good. Practice your French. Il faut pratiquer, parler français quand on est là. We love it. OK, à tout à l'heure. Merci beaucoup. Ciao. Bye.